Woo! Hello! I almost fell. Hello, my beautiful darlings. It's your friendly Grumpeteer, and I'm back again with another Steven Universe vlog, and today's episode is The Big Show, and in this episode, Steven documents the rise and booking of Sadie and the Suspects, and the booking of their first show, which is done by Greg, their new manager, in Empire City. But the entire time, Sadie's kind of grumpy because she doesn't want her mom to show up. Because I guess being in the band is her outlet from her mom sort of always being involved with their activities. But when she shows up to the show, she sees someone who looks like her mom in the crowd. Obviously, it's not her mom. The entire audience knows it, but whatever. She sees somebody in the crowd that looks just like her mom, and seeing that her mom is there, she sort of feels a little more motivated than usual to give a stellar performance. It brings down the house, and it brings in Sunny Daniels, I think was her name, or am I thinking of... Sonny Bono comes in, and it's revealed that wasn't Sadie's mom in the crowd, that was Sunshine, the lady who was friends with Greg. What? But it turns out that Sadie admits that she felt more motivated to give an awesome, stellar performance because her mom, or at least she thought, her mom was in the crowd. Who'd have thunk? This episode was boring. I hated it. This episode was boring. It was boring. That's it. I could end the vlog right now. The only saving grace of this episode is it's easily the most experimental episode of Steven Universe, probably since, like, Keep Beach City Weird, which is also a terrible episode. It's done in probably the most radical of direction that I've seen in the show, but like literal directing in the show before. It's all, for the most part, except for the performance that Sadie gives in Empire City, it is all shot to look like it is done by Steven on a little camcorder. It's done sort of the shaky cam thing. It's not nearly done as well as they do in Gumball, for a reason that I'll explain in a moment. But it looks fine, it looks decent. I really like that they actually just changed up the style. I think that the reason they did that is because they knew that this was a boring episode, and without that change of camera style, this episode would literally just be probably the worst episode that the show has ever produced. And with it, it's easily in the top 5 of the worst, but I wouldn't say that it is the worst. The fact that it does have this cool camera sort of effect throughout the entire thing does make it more bearable. However, that does not save it from being a completely not only useless episode, but it's just boring. It's just boring. I try so hard, and I try so hard to look at the good in this show, and people are always on about, this episode stinks, the character designs are way off. I don't try to nitpick. I really don't. I've been doing this for who knows how long at this point. This episode is so boring. I don't care about Sadie. I don't really care about the killers. I don't care about the band. I care about the space battle that literally ended the last episode. Like, the last episode ended, and Lars and everybody were like, we should go off into the asteroid belt, and we should fight, all the bad guys there, and we should get those parts for the ship. And everyone's like, yeah! And literally the spaceship goes off into the asteroid belt, and the episode ends. And you're like, cool, next episode, it's gonna be a space battle. It's a documentary. Are we just gonna skip over the fact that they went to like a cool asteroid belt and had like probably an awesome fight with some dudes to get some parts for a ship? No, I'm really glad that we saw Sadie coming over her fear of stage fright. Also, who cares about Sadie? I don't. I don't care about Sadie. I don't care about the fate of Sadie and the suspects. I didn't know that it would be a continuing storyline from the Sadie Killer episode. I don't care that it is a continuing story from the Sadie Killer episode. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care! It doesn't make sense why they made this episode. It's boggling. This episode is numbingly boring. Numbingly boring. There's nothing in this episode to invest you. You don't care. I know you. Hi, I know you. I know you don't care about this episode. I know that you watched this episode. And you probably didn't even watch the episode, you're just watching the vlog. If you did watch the episode, I know you don't care. I personally know that you don't care. I personally know you and know that you don't care. This episode was useless. This was the most numbingly boring, just... Oh, it was so boring! It was 4 minutes in, and I was like, are we gonna, like, pick something up? No! It wasn't an episode about nothing is really the thing. It couldn't even get away with the whole avant-garde, experimental, just take a look into these people's lives. No, because there was a plot, and there was a defined sort of conflict that the character had to get over. Sadie had to sort of overcome this anger that she had with her mother, and this fear, and sort of the resolution of that was finding out that it wasn't her mother, and that she sometimes performs better when her mom is there. And I understand that it's 11 minutes. Of course I understand that it's an 11-minute show written for children, and not every episode can be stellar, but at least a little more effort than this. You can really tell that somebody had the idea to make like a found footage sort of documentary about a band and put it in Steven Universe. And they were like, why don't we do an episode about Sadie and the Killers? And it's the idea over the actual execution. This episode is so dull. I struggle to believe that there was anybody on the writing staff who confidently believed that this episode would be enjoyable to watch. It's maddening. This is a numbing episode. I've never had the reaction to an episode of Steven Universe as I had to this one. And like I said, the only saving grace for it is how interesting the camera movement is. And even then, it's not anything new. Like I said, literally every episode of The Amazing World of Gumball has done this before. And usually better because 3D environments and 2D characters sort of give a more elusive and actual feel to, found camera. Like if I move the camera like this, it makes sense because I'm 3D and the background is 3D. And in 2D, that's a bit difficult. As somebody who understands the intricacies of animation, I understand why that is a bit more difficult to sort of get the the depth and all that of, characters are a bit difficult to draw, like moving proportions like that, especially if it's only so slightly. But it's such a terrible episode. It really is. These are the episodes that make me understand why people say that episodes of Steven Universe only exist to be filler. This episode was not created under anybody's wishes. Nobody said, I really wonder what happens to Sadie and the Suspects. Nobody ever said, I really wish there was a found footage episode of Steven Universe. This was an episode, they needed to fill a slot, and they did it. And this is probably the first time in 6 years of doing this show that I've ever been actually disappointed in the Steven Universe staff for how little effort they put into an episode. This was I wouldn't say disgusting, that is a bit much, but this was just absolutely nearly inexcusable for just how boring it was. There wasn't even anything, there were barely any jokes even. It was just, we're gonna go to the Empire City, we're gonna stay in Empire City, we're gonna do a show. There was a song, they threw in a song. Boring! It was a boring episode! These are the episodes that I fear. Let's hope the next one's better. Do you guys agree with me? Was this one really as bad as I'm thinking it is? I don't know. This is my initial thoughts, of course, but, boring! Boring! Aburrito! Chicka chicka!